kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Dynasty Racing League Pro Series, their season opener from Daytona. I am Mike Damoni, and joining me tonight is Mac Nelson. Mac, how is it going, man?
You know, it's been going good, Mike. It's summertime, the birds are out, they're chirping, the sun is out, getting them raised. But more importantly, I'm glad to be in here calling the Dynasty Racing League's opener. I'm pretty sure we are at Daytona here.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure it's the opener, and, I've heard a lot of good stuff about this league from you, so I'm just excited.
Yeah, we'll see how these guys get going. It's different when you head here into the summertime with these leagues. They struggle sometimes with car count, but these guys are going to put on a show here at Daytona. We've got 10 cars right now, and about 45 seconds left here in this practice session before they make their way to the qualifying session. We're in for 100 laps coming around Daytona. So we'll see what happens once they get going here. This league is known for their clean racing. Last season when we broadcasted them, they were on Saturdays, which they will have another series coming up on Saturday. It'll be with the Gen 4 cars, whereas these are the ARCA cars. But they only averaged about 2 cautions per race over their whole season, so they definitely are into the clean racing. As the session is just about to switch over here, and we'll get into the qualifying.
Yes, sir. These qualifying times should be pretty close together. You know, we are at a super speedway, so, you know, it's just going to be pin the throttle and, you know, stay close to that yellow line. So we shall see. We shall see.
Who's going to get out on track first here? Oh, it looks like Austin Collins is. When you come to a track like this, Mac, I don't know about you, but on this first warm-up lap, I try and get almost as high to the wall as I can, try and build up as much speed, and then when I go to make my qualifying run, I try and keep it right on that bottom as long as I can.
Yeah, exactly. And man, I'm drawing a blank on the name. I believe his name was Brian Wirtz. My first ever league that I ran, it was No Limit Racing, ran by Brandon Fronople, I believe is his name, something along that. I might have butchered the last name. But anyway, that guy's a legend. That guy taught me everything that needs to be known about oval league racing, and especially in these ARCAs. We were running the ARCA cars in that first league that I ran, and he told me, he said, use your out lap and your first lap. Pin it to the top, as we see right here. He is pinning it to the top. Austin Collins, I believe that is. So on this first lap, if you just stay to the top, you will generate more speed over time, and then you're going to have a slow time for your first lap, so you can't really mess up the second lap. But if you pin yourself to that yellow line on the second lap, you will be in a lot better shape and get a lot better lap times. So nice to see Austin Collins taking that strategy. Might land him a provisional pole here when he gets done with his second lap.
Now let's take a look back here at Jacob Goldish, I believe.
Gladulish,
that's right. As he makes his first lap, and then he gets down to the bottom. So it looks like he's going to try and get this lap as quick as he can, just like we were talking about. First lap for him was a 50-15. Austin Collins was a 50-30. Matt Burgess is up there with a 49.96.
if I'm not mistaken, could be wrong here. I think we're gonna be seeing 49.1s after everybody does their, you know, best lap. I could be wrong there, but I think if I'm not mistaken, it's 49.1s that we're looking for here. Has been a long time since I've ran these ARCA cars, though.
Yeah, we'll see how these guys improve. Austin Collins there, 49.6. Jacob up there with a 49.59. Richard Springer, 49.54. We'll see if anybody can best that time there.
Yeah, that actually sounds about right. 49.5s. Yeah, that sounds pretty right. These guys showing pretty good pace around here. And obviously, you know, these race lap times will go down because, you know, you have the big pack drafting and all that stuff. So I'm not even going to take a shot on what we'll be expecting when it comes to a race pace, but I would say somewhere around 47.5 seconds, 46.5 seconds.
Yeah, once these guys once these guys get hooked up, those times will go down dramatically. And from watching them in practice, they seem to be working pretty well together. PJ O'Leary there with a 49.75 for his first lap. These seems to be bouncing a little bit coming through the corner.
Yeah, unfortunately, just a little high. I don't know if he will be able to improve his lap time that much. Might be able to get it down a little bit. I take back everything that I've said. He sets provisional pole. I don't know. I guess I guess I'm just not the brightest.
And jumps up there with a 49.54, so down to thousandths of a second there for that pole position. Matt Metler, first lap of 59.89. Looks like he bounced up a little bit and gonna lose a little bit of time. We'll see if he can make it through. Like he got a little bit loose. He might, yeah, he's done, as he did not finish that lap. So go ahead and switch over here to let these guys get in their cars. So as they are doing that, though, take a look at the race info. Pretty cool, really, on track. Nothing to be concerned about, really. We are in for 100 laps here at Daytona. So let's see if these guys have jumped in their car, and we'll take a look at the starting grid. Get the grid up here. So we got PJ O'Leary and Richard Springer in row 1. Row 2, Matt Burgess and Jacob Gladulish. Row 3, James Pandolf and Larry McKenzie Jr. Austin Collins and Matt Metler in row 4. Row 5 is Chris Melton and Dustin Musial. So that is the way they're going to start. We'll see how they are going to finish once they get going here.
And going back to the weather that we displayed here, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's cooler temperatures than normal for Daytona. So these ARCA cars might be able to grip up extremely well. We might see lower lap times than we thought.
Yeah, I mean, track temperature is only 95, air temperature 69, and it's only going to get cooler as the race wears on. So we got PJ O'Leary going to lead them to the green flag this first time. We got a field of 10 here. We'll see if these guys are going to battle a little bit side by side, or if it's going to be more of a single file.
Yeah, and to be honest, with 10 cars being here, I would almost say they might just go single file. But, racer's instinct, they're going to want to move positions. It's just how it is with these race car drivers, especially on the iRacing service. People are hungry for positions. That's just the way it is. That's what racing is. You got to be hungry to get up to the front. So we might see some double lines here and there. We might even see some triple. We might even see some 3 wide. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see what happens once we get going. Making their way through that turn 4, headed to the front stretch here. Pace car should be pulling off, and it does. PJ O'Leary has the field under his control. Green flag is out, and we are racing in Daytona. PJ O'Leary and Matt Burgess on the inside. Richard Springer and Jacob Gladulish on the outside. Looks like they were hooked up for a little bit, kind of got about a car length between them now as they go over the bumps of this Daytona. Matt Burgess pulls out and is going to drop towards the back.
Yeah, playing the long game here. He doesn't want to get into anything risky early on in the race, and got to respect that from a driver. But the 21 and 14 of Richard Springer and Jacob Gladulish, respectively, they were hooked up there going into the back stretch. They were that was really nice push out of Jacob Gladulish. And, you know, if they can get that synergy going all race long, I mean, we're probably looking at P1 and P2 there.
Yeah, once they get this, once they get hooked up and you see them start to pull away, it's gonna, ooh, Gladulish almost into that outside wall there. Looks like he tried to check up a little bit and just not quite enough. But that outside lane has got 3 or 4 car lengths between the top 2 and the driver back in the 3rd.
Yeah, the 24 of Larry McKenzie Jr. on the outside line, but he is, you know, like you said, 3 or 4 car lengths back. That allows the 1 of Austin Collins to kind of get to pick his poison here. He gets to choose what line he takes. Right now, he's staying on the bottom line, which is probably the safer line. You know, probably going to gain, you know, the least amount of movement backwards, but also the least amount of movement towards the front. But it's a long race, a lot of golf left.
Definitely. Larry McKenzie Jr. looks like he got hooked up with Dustin Musial here in that outside lane, and they are closing pretty well. Austin Collins back a car length or so. James Pandolf in between as Richard Springer jumps down to that inside lane. PJ O'Leary jumps to the outside. Those swap spots of the top 2 guys.
Yeah, a little shuffling going on there. And, you know, the back 2 of Chris Melton and Matt Metler, they're just looking on. You know, they're just waiting for their opportunity. It doesn't matter if there's 10 cars in the field or 40. The strategy remains the same at Daytona. You have got to survive the big one.
Yeah, definitely need to survive that big one. As this outside lane has got about 4 cars that are starting to work relatively together as PJ O'Leary jumps down in front of Richard Springer now. Basically leaves Jacob Gladulish out there almost high and dry by himself. So we'll see if that single file line comes in we were talking about earlier, but Gladulish staying out high.
Yeah, Gladulish staying out high, and also the 24 of Larry McKenzie Jr. getting a little bit of a run, but unfortunately is, you know, almost cut off by what I believe is the 22 of Dustin Musial, who, if I'm not mistaken, currently has the purple lap with a 47 or a 46.7. Sorry, so Larry McKenzie right behind him with 46.71. So we were pretty close with our lap time predictions for race pace.
Yeah, they're definitely moving up here. Gladulish now takes that high line and is out to the lead. It looks like PJ O'Leary was trying to side draft a little bit and might have got bumped almost into Gladulish there. Looking back through the field a little bit here. Pandolf jumps to that high line. See if that high line can get hooked up and move further away from that inside lane. But those 2 cars on the inside lane have the fastest way around the track, and if they can stay hooked up, they're staying right with them.
Oh! Oh, contact between the 2 leaders, PJ O'Leary and Jacob Gladulish, I believe, were the 2 involved. And we are staying green.
No. Caution
nope.
came out.
Take that back. Caution has come out.
It looked like we were staying green for a while. Let's go let's see if we can get on to PJ O'Leary here. We'll take a look at that accident. Oh, back up a little bit further here. Like that yellow flag came out after a lot of the incident here. Switch to front view. Oh. 22 just
So-
gets into the back of the 14 on the corner. Not a good spot to be pushing.
Yeah,
The
just
yeah.
slightly ambitious with the draft there. Just turns, obviously unintentionally, but just turns the 14 of Jacob Gladulish into the 29 of PJ O'Leary. That's, unfortunate stuff. That's probably something those drivers practice a lot. But 7 laps into a 100-lap race, I don't really know if you push through the corners there, but it is what it is. But it looks like the drivers' cars of the 14 and 29 might be okay. They might be a little bit of damage on the right front there for PJ O'Leary, but might be fine to continue.
Definitely looks like that. So it'll be interesting to see if everybody comes down pit lane. It looks like everybody will. Only 8 laps in, so didn't think I'd see everybody come down, but to up first here. I imagine that we're pretty much only going to take fuel there. Chris Moulton out, Austin Collins, Richard Springer. So 78 with a quick pit stop, under 7 seconds in his pit box. Austin Collins just over 7. Everybody else looks like they got 4 tires and fuel. So we'll see how that decision works out, as we are going to be about a 10th of the way through the race.
Yep, a long one here in Daytona Beach, Florida. But, the good part is these guys seem to be hooked up and racing well. Some unfortunate occurrences, came out with, PJ and Gladulish and what I believe was the 22 of Dustin Musil. But on the bright side, they have been, I guess this isn't the bright side, they have been in the pit for a minute. But on the bright side, I think they can take about a minute, 2 minutes of repairs, get back out there, be able to pull fine in the draft, and not be a lap down.
Yeah, that is the nice part about Daytona. You can get in the pits. You can take quite a bit of time to get repaired, as they're going to get the, I believe they're going to get 1 to green this time. We'll see how fast those guys get out of the pits. Still in their pit box at the moment. Should be just getting ready to head out, as Dustin Musil is out. PJ O'Leary as well. So they should be out in plenty of time to make their way back around the field and get caught up before the green flag comes out. And thanks everybody for joining us on YouTube. You guys hit that like button, subscribe. You get notifications of when we go live. We do this almost 7 days a week here at Sim Racing Media. So Mac, we saw basically 8 laps of green flag racing. How is that going to affect you if you're a driver and kind of strategy-wise?
Well, to be honest with you, everybody pitted. So, you know that there's only 10 cars in the field, so it's not hard as a driver to get a grasp on who has pit, who hasn't, and, remembering those things. But, being 8 laps in, 11 now when we take the green here, as a driver, that's just a mental reset. You're back at 0. If you took tires and took fuel, even if you didn't take fuel, you're at a mental reset and you are on lap 0 of 90 now. So I don't think the strategy changes at all, really. I think, you just go back out there, you race, first caution of the season and it's done and dusted. Maybe those first season jitters are out of these drivers. And, now it's just time to put your head down and push.
Definitely, as they push the loud pedal to get back under green. Austin Collins and Richard Springer up front. Don't know what happened with Chris Melton there. Looks like maybe he got a black flag and had to go to the back of the pack because he's in the rear right now after beating everybody off pit lane. Pandolf almost got on the apron there. You see his car bouncing around quite a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah, and these ARCA cars have a lot of bump in their chassis. A stiff suspension is my guess. But around these corners at Daytona, you can really see it. They start to bounce, looking like the Mercedes F1 car last year. For anybody that is in the know about that motorsport. But 74 of James Pandolf washing up a little wide, pushing Richard Springer a couple of feet. But what a run they've got on that top line. The 12 of Matt Burgess just pushing away.
Yeah, Burgess
Springer is going to get the credit for leading that lap, I believe.
Yeah, Springer's been doing pretty good, hanging out inside the top 2 or 3 almost the whole race. As the 24, Larry McKenzie, almost gets into that outside wall with Dustin Musel right behind him. That's not somewhere you really want to be. You see somebody head towards that outside wall.
Yeah, exactly. There's been a lot of times in my, official races, league races, whatever, where I see a car start to float up to that wall and I'm ready for anything. I'm bracing for impact.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. But those top 2 guys on that high line are hooked up and they seem to be working pretty well together. Pandolf and Collins on the low line are staying with them. But it's almost like that bottom line has a little bit more bumps coming through the corners than that high line did where they were running.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the 21 of Richard Springer, he got out of that line that the 12 of Matt Burgess was trying to push him through. So unfortunately, that resulted in them not having a very good run coming out of the corner. So the bottom line is going to gain advantage on the backstretch, which is something you normally see the top line get their advantage at, is the backstretch. So, through the corners, it's weird. Through the corners, they're almost better than on the straight, but we will see how that top line handles it now.
Now you can just see here as we're on board with James Pandolf, just kind of how bumpy the old track is here.
Oh, okay, see... bad commentator on my part. I didn't realize that this was the old Daytona. That makes a lot of sense now. Yeah, the old Daytona is extremely, extremely bumpy. I learned that some of my first weeks on the surface, doing those truck races on Daytona and the carburetor cups. They were always on the legacy Daytona scan. And yeah, I found out real quick that if you don't have your hands on that steering wheel and ready, those bumps can take you for a ride.
Yeah, they definitely can. And looking through the field, well, Matt Mettler's back here just kind of minding his time here. He just ran the fastest lap of the race with a 46.4.
Yeah, Matt is somehow in the back, but is currently the fastest car on the track. So, that's racing for you, man.
Richard Springer goes from that high line to the low line. And Matt just went a little bit faster, I think, that time too. Crazy. How you're just barely catching the draft, but you're not moving around too much. So we got Springer, Collins, and Pandolf down low. And Burgess, Gladulish, and Musel in that high lane.
Yeah, but, you know, for the most part, they're making that high line work. So, you know, shout out to them on that front. You know, the 12 of Matt Burgess, he was doing some really good pushing, and now he's the one that gets to lead. So we'll see if he's as good of a lead as he is a pusher. You know, a lot of times you see it, especially in the real life world with NASCAR, and you also see it in sim racing a ton, is there are people that specialize in one of the two, but you rarely see people that are good at both, leading and pushing. So we'll see. We'll see what the 12 of Matt Burgess has for the front of the pack here.
Yeah, definitely, because it's a different type of drive that you have to have when you're leading or when you're pushing. I mean, like you were saying, not everybody's good at both. Usually it's one or the other. And looks like Burgess is not doing too bad there. He's hanging on to that outside of Richard Springer. We'll see if he's going to be able to get up here and lead this lap, which it looks like he will.
He is keeping it really smooth through these corners. Well played to him. He is keeping it extremely smooth here.
Yeah, that's one thing I like when you find somebody that just seems to have, I don't know if it's the steering wheel set up, the dead zone, or what, but when they have it set up just right where like their car does not move, like it's on rails, that is the guy you want to be behind.
Yeah, and you see it a lot of times in the eNASCAR Coke Series when they go to super speedways. Except it's not just the front guy, it's all 40 drivers on the grid, as Matt Burgess almost gets pushed by the 21 of Richard Springer there, but he's going to move down to that bottom lane. But as I was saying, those Coke drivers in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series, they keep it so smooth. They will run 3 wide around Daytona the entire race, and they only have 1 caution a race or 2 cautions a race. And, you know, stuff like that, it's rarely mimicked here. But I will say, of the leagues that I have called, these Dynasty guys so far have been some of the smoothest running.
Yeah, usually when you're at a super speedway, you see a lot of, I'll call it the accordion effect, where one guy kind of moves up, then it just gets another guy, and you wind up basically all over the track, even though you're, you know, single file or a single lane there. So these guys are doing a great job trying to keep these cars, especially these ARCA cars, and on this old Daytona track.
Yeah, I like your term. I like your term of accordion effect. I've always called it conveyor belt, but accordion is really nice too. I might have to start using that one.
Pandolf almost goes 3 wide. Looks like he's trying to get his nose out there. Maybe. Oh, Gladulus gets sent through the field. Keeps it in the gas. And he jumps back on track. Looks like he just did not get a good push there from the 21 of Richard Springer.
Yeah, well done to Gladulus there. Could have built chaos in the grass, especially going from grass to asphalt where that road course bus stop is. So, you know, really good by him to be able to stay in it and get back on the track safely.
Yeah, just got a little bit of a bad bump. Looks like it might have been just coming into the corner there, or just out of the corner. Got a little loose, got a bump, and sent him through the infield. But now we're getting closer to that single file line, as Larry McKenzie Jr. is the only one up high at the moment. Oh, Matt Mettler's up there too now. Well, McKenzie Jr. down inside. James Pandolf jumps to the outside. Is going to try and give Springer a run for his money up there.
Going to try, but I don't know if he's going to succeed. He doesn't really have help at the rear. He does have the 22 of Dustin Musel, but He is a car length back or so. He is getting the run, though. So by this time next lap, he might be able to challenge Richard Springer because they are going to lose a lot of momentum in this corner. And yeah, you see Richard Springer just kind of increasing the gap. But to be fair, Pandolf is staying with him. And Pandolf might get around him before the start finish. He does.
And he is, yeah. So 2x2 seems to be the way it's going. Matt Medler was up there for a little bit. And now he's dropped back after moving high and low. So he's back eighth in the top line there. These guys battling down the backstretch. Larry McKenzie jumps out to that high line. Going to try and get up there behind Dustin Musil and give Pandolf some help. Matt Burgess third on that bottom side. You'll see these guys battling back and forth. Pandolf got that lap as well. But coming, looks like through 1 and 2, Springer might be a little bit faster, but Pandolf carries a lot of momentum down the backstretch and down the front stretch after coming out of those corners in that high line.
Yeah, exactly. That is the benefit, and that, you know, goes back to what I was saying earlier. Usually the top line has the advantage going towards the back straight because of what you just said, the momentum of coming off of that crest almost. And, you know, they get that downhill momentum. They get that run going down the back straight. But, you know, that is, you know, going to be countered by some sort in the corners because obviously, you know, the bottom line is going to have it the fastest way around the track.
As the 29 of PJ O'Leary was all over that back bumper of Richard Springer. Luckily didn't give him a bump and send him in a different direction, but Pandolf is still carrying that momentum down that backstretch. Like Larry McKenzie is going to join the top line and start closing in. Looks like he's about a car length behind Dustin Musil here.
Yeah, and, you know, I know it's Daytona, but I always talk about it. The big movers of the day so far, we're a quarter of the way through the race. Really two to highlight here. You know, fortunately for Dustin Musil, he is +7 in the grid right now. Started P10, is currently in P3. But on the other end of that is Jacob Gladulish in P10. He started out P4. So, unfortunately, some big movers in both directions here for the grid tonight. But while I was talking, Matt Medler with another fastest lap. He goes purple with a 46.29.
He's hanging out just close enough to get the draft and just far enough where he can make use of it. Whereas if you look exactly. Now, I mean, you look now at Jacob Gladulis, he is on his own and he is losing time like crazy right now. He is running a 50-second lap. Let's see what that one was. 51.67 to the leader's 47.07. So he's got some work to do.
Yeah, unfortunately, he is not exactly with the pack right now, but, you know, on the bright side, if he does manage to get lapped, if we go green long enough, if he gets lapped, there is a caution, he will be the lucky dog. So he will get that lap back essentially. So, and you know, if the caution comes out before that, then he's just on the lead lap and gets to catch back up to the grid. So even though he's in a bad spot right now, he is definitely okay for the end of the race. Now, the only situation that he is not okay is if we stay green. But being Daytona, I don't know if that will be the case.
Yeah, I mean, it is Daytona. It just, once you lose the draft at these super speedways, you just have to hope for a caution or hope for something to happen. I mean, even if it's just another car, you can run faster with 2 cars than just one. So we'll see when pit stops are going to happen. I mean, we've been 20 green flag laps ish.
And there's just something about hearing those ARCA scream, man. They just such a good sounding car.
Ooh. Larry McKenzie ate that outside wall, so he is going to be dropping back. Looks like he is probably going to lose that draft as well.
Yeah, unfortunate for McKenzie Jr. there, but glad Julish might be able to catch up to him, and maybe if they work together, they might be able to make something happen.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. We'll see if these guys elect to try and go single files. Looks like James Pandoff had enough of running up in that high line and got down to the inside, kind of let Dustin Musil up there all by himself. Matt Burgess is side by side with Musil there for 4th and 5th.
Ooh, it looks like. Oh well, I thought the 78 there, Chris Milton, was going to dip out and help Dustin Musil, but they all just kind of fell into the line, and they are single file here at Daytona.
It looks like they were all kind of floating around there. 78 now up in that high line. See if he's going to be able to do anything. Matt Mettler just off the back, kind of hanging out as we are completed 30 laps here at Daytona. Mettler up to the high line. Going to get past Austin Collins there, but probably lose it momentarily as Dustin Musil jumps in front of him. Chris Melton leading that high line. We got 3 on the outside and 4 down on the inside that are close enough to draft. So as we work our way through here, we're going to go ahead and step aside for our first commercial break. We'll be back momentarily. You won't miss anything of this Dynasty Racing League Pro Series. Back momentarily. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Dynasty Racing League here on Sim Racing Media. You guys didn't miss anything. Looks like they got down into single file and have been logging laps while we were away. Richard Springer leading the race. Looks like he's getting pretty close to the back of the field here of Jacob Gladulish after getting sent through the infield there. Lost the draft and has not been able to catch back up yet. And here he goes.
Yep. And that officially makes him a lapped car, which, like I said earlier, if we do have a caution, then he will be getting that lap back. So, not all hope is lost here for the 14 of Jacob Gladulish.
No, definitely not. And if he can stay with these leaders, it's not going to be too big of a deal. I mean, yes, he's a lap down, but it looks like he's got some damage on there that is not really allowing him to stay too close to him. Just as I say that, it looks like he decided he was going to try and keep up with him as he pulled back in front of Matt Metler there.
Yeah, he's got enough power to pull with the pack, I believe. So that's good news for him. You don't want to go multiple laps down here. But that leader of Richard Springer, he has put on a defensive showcase for most of the night. You know, there's been very few times where he hasn't been leading, and he is very, very quick and very decisive in which lane he chooses to defend, and it's netted him a good amount of laps led right now.
Yeah, definitely. And after the first lap catastrophe for PJ O'Leary, he's back up into second place after he spent almost 2 minutes in his pit stall getting all that damage repaired from that early race caution.
Yeah, and we were chatting during the commercial break, which, by the way, go cop some of that SRM merch. It looks fire. Don't lie. Don't lie to yourselves. It looks fire. So go cop you a sweater or, you know, a t-shirt, mouse pad. It's all mouse pad. So go buy any of those items if you would like to support SRM further. But as I was saying, we were chatting up during the commercial break, and I believe the pit window for these guys is going to be around 49 or 50. That could be completely off, and, you know, it would fit everything I've said tonight. Everything I've said seems to be off. But I believe they can make around 41 or 42 laps on a full tank here. So if they pitted on lap 8 and got a full tank, then they should be looking at around a lap 49, lap 50 pit stop.
Which, if that is the case, that's going to be interesting for the end of the race. Because if they pit on lap 49.50, that still leaves 50 green flag laps. So we'll see what strategy is going to come out of, you know, that half of the race.
Yeah, exactly. It really leaves the door open for a multitude of strategies, and we'll have to see which one prevails. But right now, Richard Springer's strategy of hitting the loud pedal and staying in front of everybody is working flawlessly.
He's definitely going to be the car that comes to the pits first, I would imagine. I mean, I guess it could be Matt Metler, because Matt's been putting on a clinic as he just went fastest lap again.
Yeah, we're gonna have to start calling him Matt Verstappen here, because he is just killing it on these lap times. I think that's his third purple lap. I think if you were to stack up the top 5 fastest laps, he'd have 3 or 4 of the top 5.
Definitely would. Looks like Austin Collins has backed out of it and going to drop back through the field a little ways. Richard Springer leading here. Looks like they almost might be getting set up for some pit stops, but as fast as Austin Collins dropped back to the back. It looked like that's what he was going to be setting up for, but he did not go to pit lane that time. As Pandolf gets a little squirrely there.
Yeah, you know, that can definitely happen, you know, going in these single file going into these corners. That dirty air going through the corner can really make your car tight. But if you start to get out of that line and, you know, you're back into the clean air, then that can upset the car and the weight distribution can be off for a second. And with the bumps of this old Daytona scan, all those variables together can spell disaster for you.
Yeah, it definitely can. It looks like Chris Melton's out in the high line almost by himself, and as I say that, he's still hanging out there.
Yeah, he is committed to that top line, which, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me correct, that's where he's liked to be the entire race. It seems like every time someone forms that second line, he might not be right there behind them, but he is a few cars back, you know, trying to pick up the slack from, you know, what would be the mid-pack or rear of the pack. And I think he really likes running that outside line.
Yeah, sometimes it feels a little bit more comfortable than, you know, clear down at the bottom. You can kind of, you don't really have the car in front of you or behind you, so if you do start to gain a little bit of speed, you don't have to slow down or adjust anything. You just kind of stay where you're at and keep that wheel steady and carry your speed through the corner.
Yeah, I've always preferred the top line rather than the low line, because if you're on that low line and, you know, you hit that apron just barely in one of those corners, it can also spell disaster for you. But when you're on the outside line, you know, it's really difficult to wash up so high that you hit the wall in a lot of cases. It definitely can happen and has happened to me multiple times, but I find that it is a lot harder to hit that outside wall than it is to accidentally clip the apron on the bottom line going into a corner.
Yeah, definitely. And usually if you hit that apron, you don't have much control. I mean, at least if you're in the high line, usually if you hit the wall, you just kind of scrape along the wall, then you can keep it under control most of the time.
Yeah.
They are all basically single file, so see how or who, I guess, blinks first, because I'm going to assume they're going to try and go as long as they can here before they hit that pit lane. They might get to 51-52 because we did have a couple laps under caution after they did hit pit lane, but still it's going to be pretty close. They do have a couple extra sets of tires if they even need them, but super speedways usually tires are not a top priority.
And not a top priority, but with a smaller field like this, it might be a priority because you don't have multiple packs that you can run with. There is one pack and one pack only. So in that case, you might need the fresh tires. You might need all the pace that you can get, because one wrong move and you don't have very many cars behind you to run a pack with.
Yeah, definitely not. And as we're watching the leader here, he is catching Larry McKenzie Jr. to put him a lap down. See if everybody goes to that high side, and it looks like almost everybody will, which will put him a lap down. We'll see if Gladulus can get by him for position and that lucky dog position.
Yeah, so now, you know, it's going to be a dogfight at the back of the pack between McKenzie Jr. and Gladulus there, you know, because there's a lot on the line. You know, if we only have one more caution, then someone is going to be stuck a lap down.
And it looks like Gladulus is going to get that run, and McKenzie Jr. is going to be stuck towards the back of the pack. He's in that high line, but he's 4 or 5 car lengths back, so we'll see if he jumps down behind Matt Metler there and can get a little tow around the track.
Yeah, he definitely needs to do something here on this back stretch, because if he doesn't fall into the line of the toe soon, he is going to be left behind again.
Pandoff back to the outside, and he is on the attack once more. McKenzie Jr. We'll see if, like, he might be slowly losing the draft there of Austin Collins, so might be a little hard to get back into the pack if he loses that.
Yeah,
side by side up front we go.
Yeah, these guys are keeping it 2x2 up front, have been for the last 4 or 5 laps. So we'll see how long that can go on for. As for, I believe, the first time this race, never mind, I was going to say we have a 3-deep top line, but that changes very quick because James Pandoff got the run, got a full car length ahead of the leader, and came down in front of him to lead the bottom line. But Richard Springer said, anything you can do, I can do better, and he moved to the top line, and it looks like he is getting a run on James Pandoff, so they just swapped spaces here.
Yeah, Pandoff's been running the bottom most of the race, but every time he tries for the front, like Richard Springer just has something for him as Springer goes from the inside to outside and now drops back down to the inside. We'll see if Pandoff's going to try and slide up in front of Chris Melton there, but don't know if there's enough room quite yet for him to do that.
Yeah, and halfway through this Daytona race here, as Richard Springer is going to lead the lap that takes us over the halfway point. And, you know, Mike, if you're Richard, what are you thinking right now?
Well, you pretty much know everybody's going to pit whenever you pit. Like, if they're not going to pit before you, because most of them probably, everybody behind you probably has a little bit more fuel than you do, because you've been leading the most laps. You've been all over the place, so you know they're going to pit with you. So you just run your race, you know, pit as soon as you feel the need. And it looks like probably going to get 1, maybe 2 more laps at the most.
Yeah. As the leader, you know, you're kind of calling the shots. You're leading the orchestra here. Like you said, you know, when you pit, that's probably when everybody else is going to decide to pit. But with it being, you know, such a limited, you know, grid here, if you pit and no one else goes with you, there's a high chance of that happening. There's a very high chance of you pitting and no one really stopping with you. Or if somebody does stop with you, maybe it's somebody you don't really synergize with very well on the track. But Richard Springer is going to do it. He's going to come down and he is alone. He is alone.
I was just gonna say, I think he made the right decision jumping back behind the line there and just gonna pit with somebody, whoever pits in front of him, but then he jumps down pit lane and he is all by himself. So that's gonna be it's gonna be rough coming out.
Yeah, I must say that is a very questionable call, because I was with you. I thought he was jumping back so he didn't have to make the decision, so everything that I just said couldn't happen to him. And, you know, he proved me wrong, and he decided that he was going to pit. He gets a pretty decent pit stop, to be fair, 15.6 seconds inside of his box, which means he did switch tires. So, you know, maybe he'll make me bite my words, but I think that might be a questionable call.
I definitely think that could be as well. And what I was going to say is, if I was these guys out on track and I saw him pit and how tough he'd been, I would have tried to get as many laps as I could around the track before I made my pit stop.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. If I'm James Pandolf right now leading the race, my focus is passing him and making sure he is a lap down.
See if he's gonna. Everybody comes in except for Matt Burgess and Austin Collins. They stay out.
Yeah, they stay out, and if they can hook up and get some serious time down the track, well, this might be a good decision from them. If they can coordinate their pit stops together and just stay synergized and stay hooked up, a two-man alliance can easily net you a P1 and 2 here.
Yeah, definitely, because they've almost lapped Richard Springer. Springer's the car right in front of them. The problem is, even if they do lap him, most of the time you're going to spend on pit lane is 43 seconds or thereabouts. Whoa, Burgess got way loose, and around he goes.
Yeah, big lockup from Matt Burgess and Austin Collins
as well.
Yeah, just a little too ambitious there.
There goes all of that. So tried to carry too much speed coming to pit lane and basically gave away all their time because they're both probably going to get penalties and have to sit in their box for quite a while. James Pandolf is technically the leader at the moment. He's back out on track, but he is almost by himself as PJ O'Leary is over a second back. And coming up pretty quick on the outside is Chris Melton and Richard Springer. So if Pandolf does not get anybody to help push him, he is going to forfeit that lead to Chris Melton. And Richard Springer's probably going to try and jump around Melton and get back to the lead where he likes to be.
Yeah, and Matt Burgess, unfortunately, spending a lot of time in the pit. I think you are right. I think he might have got a speeding penalty or something because he has been in the
Unsafe
pit for
pit
going on
entry.
a minute now.
He did hit that inside wall a little bit. That's Chris Melton leading the race for this time. We'll see if he's going to be able to hang on here and lead it at the start finish line, and he will, but Richard Springer is not letting him go easy here as we jump on board with Springer. Do that net zero Pontiac. You can just see how rough this track is by this view here.
Yeah, I mean, these cars are going for a ride, and you know, there are times, there are definitely times where, you know, we're seeing drivers get loose, you know, going into these corners, like the 14 right there of Jacob Gladulish. Got a little bit squirrely. He clipped the apron just a tad, but yeah, these bumps in the pavement can really mess your car up and really upset it.
Yeah, definitely. So, going back to what we were talking about, looks like everybody pitted about as long as they could stay out. 54, so you got, just like you said, about 46 laps. So it's going to be close to see if they can make it or not.
Yeah, and if I'm the leader right now, that's exactly what I don't want to be doing right now, is leading, because if fuel saving is the name of the game here, which I do believe it is going to be, being out in front, hitting that air, you know, with no sort of toe or draft is going to hurt your fuel efficiency a lot.
Yeah, definitely looking back through the field, I think James Pandolf here might be sitting in a relatively good spot. It doesn't look like he's, you know, quite full throttle, just kind of staying back here. Not really making any big jumps or anything. So that might be his plan as well. I mean, even PJ O'Leary back here just kind of cruising. You know he has a little bit more speed because he was up front for a little while as well.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what they're saying as Richard Springer is going for an overtake on Chris Melton. Chris Melton is either going to allow it or he is just going to not have any sort of pace going through the trioval. But, Richard Springer, something to note here. I thought it was a controversial call going for the early pit. It has gained him the lead here now because of the, unfortunate mess that Austin Collins and Matt Burgess got into. But also, he pitted on the earliest lap of everyone else at lap 52. Which means he is going to have the least amount of fuel in his car at any given moment. I also think it's a controversial call that he is leading right now. If I were him, I would not want to be leading this race because he already has the lowest fuel tank of everyone else. And being in the front, burning into that, that clean air, that's going to hurt his fuel chances even more.
Yeah, definitely. The guy who probably made, I want to say, the best pit strategy call is the guy sitting behind him. I mean, he's almost got his lap back with his pit strategy.
Yeah,
Jacob Gladulish. I mean, all he has to do is get past Richard Springer here, and he's back on the lead lap. So definitely a gutsy call for him because he also came down on lap 52, but it's got him to where he's almost on the lead lap again, which is where you want to be.
Yeah, but you almost got to think that, maybe the damage that he did suffer is preventing him from making this overtake, because in my mind, that's exactly where I would want to be, is in front, because then you can get your lap back, legitimately clean, no need for a lucky dog or anything. But he is not making that move. He is not making that overtake. So I'm not exactly sure what Gladulish's game plan is right now, as, wow, that car, if I'm not mistaken, that is the 00 of Matt Mettler. He is on a run of a century right now, overtaking 3 cars in one corner, coming through the trioval. He's going to get the spot.
What in the world just happened to Matt? Looks like he was shot out of a gun there. I mean, he's been throwing down the fastest laps of the race by quite a big margin. I mean, even that lap there, he was a 46.69 where everybody else was a 48.70 or slower. Like, he is on rails right now.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest runs I think I've ever seen when it comes to Daytona racing. That way, he had no help. He had no help from anyone.
It was a solo car. How in the world did he go that fast?
I'm not sure. I think he's running nitrous under that hood or something, because yeah, that was absolutely wild.
Oh, he got loose there. He's gonna lose it now. I'll go back as that back end of that 00 gets out from under him. Richard Springer retakes the lead. Richard Springer's stuck between basically two lap cars here.
Yeah, and they're going to be battling because they have stakes here, but the 12 of Matt Burgess is going to go to the outside, sort of let Richard Springer get to the front, and we find Richard Springer back in this predicament where does he really want to be here burning all this fuel?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, looks like everybody, Pandolf made it the farthest, so I'm assuming he ran till he was almost empty. And he was and he was using quite a bit of fuel early, so, if you're sitting back in the field, I think you're fine, but if you're Springer, I don't know if you have enough fuel to make it. Unless you know something that, if you know that everybody else has to pit too, that is going to be something you're going to have to kind of keep your eye on.
Yeah, that's definitely something I agree with, and I'm failing to see the positives of leading this race right now for Richard Springer, but who knows? It could be the golden strategy.
Well, he's led the most laps. He's already locked that down, I do believe. So, I mean, I guess if it's working, it's working. As it looks like he's gonna let a couple guys get around him. Maybe he flipped on the broadcast and went, maybe these guys are right, as he just pulls out to the high lane and kind of drifts back through the field a little bit.
Yeah, he's tuning in while cruising at what I believe is 189, 190 miles per hour down that backstretch in these ARCA cars. And, you know, it seems like that a lot, you know. When you're driving Daytona, this is probably the easiest track to navigate around. That is true. But it is also probably the hardest track to stay focused on. You know, you get complacent. You almost zone out. You know, you've got your foot just mashing the throttle. You're turning left every, 20 seconds, 25 seconds. And, you know, it is easy. But it's also very difficult to be able to stay, aware.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially at the at the new Daytona, when those next gen cars, you can basically hold your foot down and just kind of cruise around, almost fall asleep as you log these laps. But here in these ARCA cars on this older Daytona circuit, you can see that the drivers are moving the wheel every which direction. See if we can get a good look here. There. You can just see it on his steering wheel how much he's kind of bouncing back and forth. This is leader Dustin Musil. Kind of nice and smooth on the straightaways, and then watch as soon as he heads into this corner.
See the 12 of Matt Burgess there get a really good run going alongside him. He is going to be clear. I don't know if he's going to take the position away from Jacob Gladulish, but
like he helps his teammate there, Austin Collins.
Yeah. But wow, these front four are extremely tight. They are packed in there like a can of sardines.
And so you have Austin Collins and PJ O'Leary 1-2, Matt Burgess a couple laps down, and Jacob Gladulis sitting there in the lucky dog position.
Which is a really good spot for Jacob Gladulis, because it doesn't matter if it's now on lap 69, nice, or lap 99. A caution's a caution, and if he can be the front of the lapped cars, he will get that lap back. So he is racing an ideal race right now for his circumstances.
Yeah, he definitely is. What's gonna happen as this race wears on here? Austin Collins and Matt Burgess were working pretty well together before catastrophe happened on pit lane. They are back working together and have that one car out front. So if you are sitting there and you're thinking you're going to be a little short on fuel, how long do you wait to come to pit road? Do you wait till the very last second? Do you basically kind of let your car run out of fuel? What kind of strategy are you working on if you already know that you're probably going to be a little bit short? Do you try and move to the back and just coast?
Yeah, I think that would be my first instinct. Go to the back of the pack, make sure you're off the throttle as much as possible without losing, any pace that might, put you being, a lap down, maybe losing the toe. And then, while I'm back there, that's when I would, kind of formulate a plan, kind of think about what exactly you're going to do. I know a lot of racers these days have the fuel calculators, from certain third-party softwares, which is totally legit, not illegal by any way. iRacing is said they condone the use of it. They like it. They don't care. But for a lot of these guys, they're just gluing their eyes to that fuel calculator, and it'll update every lap. And if they're in the green, they'll push. If they're in the red, they drop back and let off that throttle and save a little bit. So, fortunately for these guys, they're probably going to have a fuel calculator, I would say. And, they just kind of follow that.
Yeah, definitely. So as we get to 3/4 of the way through this race, we're going to step aside for our second and final commercial break. When we come back, we will bring you the end to this Dynasty Racing League Pro Series season opener at Daytona. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Dynasty Racing League Pro Series. You didn't miss anything. These guys have kind of settled down in our single file. Austin Collins still leads the race with PJ O'Leary back in second. Couple lap cars all around them. Jacob Gladulus hoping for a late race caution to get himself back on the lead lap so he can contend for this win. So, Mac, what do you think about this race so far? We've seen a lot of moving and different strategies. We'll see how it all comes out at the end, though.
Yeah, I think the strategies are the biggest thing that out. We saw, I think, 3 or 4 different strategies, 3 or 4 different, laps that people decided to come in and pit on. And, I think that what we're seeing right now in the front with the 12 of Matt Burgess and the 1 of Austin Collins is going to be absolutely brilliant for Austin Collins. The 12 of Matt Burgess is currently last. He is currently in P10. However, he is getting tow from the number 1 of Austin Collins. Or I guess the number 1 of Austin Collins is in his tow. and he is actually leading the race. So if something like this can keep up, you've got a double win here, because if a caution comes out in the field back there, then if I'm not mistaken, I think Matt Burgess will get one of his laps back.
Yeah,
and also, also if it stays green, Austin Collins is just going to cruise to a victory, assuming he and Matt Burgess can stay linked up.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. As we were sitting there talking about Richard Springer's kind of strategy, it's almost like he tuned in and instantly backed out and got right behind James Pandolf and is kind of just cruising here. See if we can take a look here at his dashboard. He's still going 185, 186 miles an hour. So, but we don't know exactly what the throttle inputs are. We got about 20 laps to go.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to see how it all plays out. You know, Richard Springer and James Pandolf both, around middle of the field, P4, P5 for them. And then you have Austin Collins, who is actually one of the later pit cycle drivers. He pitted on lap 55, and he is also in the tow of Matt Burgess, like I said. So he's going to be the most full, or have the most full gas tank, just straight up, but also leading the race while still being in the tow is helping him out a lot too. So in the event that he loses Matt Burgess somehow, he can still push pretty hard and be fine on fuel.
Yeah, I mean, he's been sitting up here following Burgess for a while, so he doesn't have all that. He's not breaking the air around him. He's just kind of sitting there, and it looks like that's what almost everybody else is kind of doing back behind him. But like you said, he pitted on the latest lap. I mean, PJ O'Leary pitted one lap before him, along with James Pandolf. Dustin Musial pitted on lap 53, so that was a couple laps before. And then Richard Springer pitted on lap 52. Springer was leading the race. He led the most laps until he decided to save fuel. I'm assuming he's thinking the same thing everybody else is thinking. This is going to go green to the end. I need to make sure I can make it without having to make that other pit stop. I mean, even if you do make a pit stop, you're basically going to get a splash and go, be in your pit box as little time as possible. I'm talking like 5 seconds or less, but you're still going to wind up spending, say, 30 seconds on pit lane.
Yeah, exactly. So, in the event that there are a couple of drivers that maybe got their strategy just a little wrong and they have to pit, it's going to cost them absolutely everything unless the yellow flag does come out, which, ideally we will not see, but who's to say?
I don't know. I think we've been kind of dancing around it quite a little bit here as these guys bounce around the corners. And it looks like Richard Springer might have got the, might have got the green light. It looked like he was going to pull out beside James Pandolf there, but he tucked back in behind him. PJ O'Leary about a car length back of Austin Collins.
Yeah, I would say, in a perfect world, we'll start seeing moves with around 5 laps to go. That is typically, that's the point in my races that I race that I would like to, make a move at these super speedways is with 5 to go, because you can make up a lot of places in just 1 lap. But if you give yourself 5 laps, maybe 6 laps, then you get a little bit of a buffer zone to kind of scout things out, really understand how the race is going at all aspects of the field, or at least all the aspects of the field that's in front of you. And, then you can make your decision on where you want to move, who you want to move with, and when you want to do it.
Yeah, definitely. You want to kind of get set up. You maybe don't want to make your move to the front until, maybe 2 laps to go, but definitely want to start moving towards the front, figuring out where you kind of want to be, maybe who you want to be around. Like you said, with 6 or 7 laps to go, just get kind of where you want to be to make that final push to the finish line.
Yeah, exactly right there, as the 74 and 21 of James Pandolf and Richard Springer, they're definitely saving fuel. However, Richard Springer is peeking to the outside on that back stretch just a little bit at a time every lap, and that is going to hurt his fuel a little bit, but he can get away with stuff like that, I would think. I don't think it's going to make an impact on his fuel capacity too much, or fuel efficiency, I should say. But, just peeking out, getting that look, seeing if anybody is creating that second line, because he is going to jump at the opportunity, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think like you were talking about the fuel calculations and everything, I think he's already got, all right, you have, 16, 17 laps left. You should be good. Let's start trying to move forward a little bit. It's probably what he's thinking, but nobody's making that move to that outside lane. And I bet as soon as he sees James Pandolf pull up even a little bit to that outside lane, he's going to be right on his back bumper and push him towards the front there to try and at least make it where if he doesn't want to go, he's going to make him go to that outside lane.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of drivers will feel that. They'll feel that kind of pressure from behind. They might be doing what Richard Springer was doing and peeking out, getting a look. But if a car follows you and is right behind you, you get kind of that feeling. You're like, oh, okay, I got somebody. Let's go. And so in that case, James Pandolf might be more inclined to jump to the outside and maybe try for something. But, for the most part, he is just sitting here and he is relaxing in that bottom line.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of just holding on for the moment. I mean, if you're Richard Springer, you have pretty good speed because you were up front. You basically stayed there the whole time, even with other cars getting help from different positions around you. But you don't want to wait to the very end either to try and make that go from what? He's only a little over half a second back of the leader, so not too much at the moment.
Yeah, definitely something that could be made up in, 1 lap's time if need be. But, like you said, he might need to start thinking about moving to the front, or maybe, plotting out a point of when he is going to go to the front.
Yeah, Matt Mettler starting to make a move here.
He carried a lot of speed into that corner. Unfortunately, his momentum dies off a little bit, but entering that corner, he had some wicked pace to him.
He's still running sub 47s when everybody else is running, 47.4? So he definitely has some speed in that 00.
Yeah, and you see the 29 of PJ O'Leary kind of forcing the issue here with Austin Collins. He knows that, the 12 and the 1 have been hooking up all night, and, their synergy is really nice. He is going to try to disrupt that in any way possible. And, he is really trying to put pressure on the back of the 1 of Austin Collins. And I would not doubt if we see him move up to the top line and maybe try to leapfrog those 2 cars here shortly.
Yeah, I bet it looks like he's trying to, I want to say, push Austin Collins to make a move on the 12. But even if Austin Collins gets around the 12, I mean, as they look like their teammates, they're going to be... The 12 is probably going to try and block O'Leary from making any ground on that 1 as well.
Yeah, I would say you're definitely correct. It does seem like they are teammates to a certain capacity. They have been helping each other out all night, and so this could prove valuable to the one of Austin Collins. But respect to Matt Burgess, that is, for kind of sacrificing his race. Fortunately for him, he didn't really almost get a choice. He had that incident on pit lane. He had to spend 1:39 in the pit, whether that was getting damages repaired or serving the penalty, because I'm sure he sped into the pits with how he locked up there. But, for him to, find that inspiration and find that motive to not only get back out on track, but to also potentially net his teammate the win here in the season opener, that's, amazing teammate award for Matt Burgess.
Yeah, definitely. As it looks like Chris Melton has decided it is time to go. He jumps that high line, and he is up into second position. He's all by himself there. But if he can get in front of Matt Burgess, he might be sitting in a pretty good position there, side by side.
Yeah, but unfortunately just made the move a little too early, as the one of Austin Collins is going to go up and push Chris Melton. This could be some expert strategy from the 1 and the 12. It gets Austin Collins ahead of his teammate, who doesn't have any potential of a race win right now. So it almost puts it down to a 1v1 with him and Chris Melton, because now you have the 12 of Matt Burgess, who is surely going to block PJ O'Leary from going to the top and, making his own case.
Yeah, that definitely seemed like the strategy call there. And if you saw the way the outside line kind of just worked together there to get around Matt Burgess right now with the 1 and 12. If the 1 backs up just a little bit and the 12 hooks up with him, that 1 can go around that 78, almost like he's standing still coming off of 4. So we'll see if that comes to fruition as we are sitting here with 7 laps to go.
Yeah, the 1 and the 12 definitely are in the driver's seat right now, as, you summed it up perfectly. Last lap, if, they can come off 4 and the 12 of Matt Burgess can push Austin Collins, then that's almost a guaranteed victory, because there's no way PJ O'Leary is going to catch up to the leader here, or the current leader, Chris Melton, and, be able to come in as reinforcements. So, yeah, that was an excellent strategic call from either of the two, whoever made that call.
Yeah, because that 12, worst case, he blocks the run of the 29. Best case, he pushes the 1 to the win. So they just need to sit here, 6 laps to go, and it doesn't look like anybody from the back is really making any moves or trying to at the moment. I figured we'd see Pandolf and Springer jump out to that high line and try and get it working to move up towards the front, but they are sitting back in the back just kind of hanging out right now.
Yeah, they are that, and I'm ready to see a run from Matt Mettler. I want to see if he can, conjure up another run like he did earlier in the race. I'm still kind of flabbergasted by that. I have no clue how he attained that, but what a run he had. And, that just goes to show drivers of this league so far tonight have shown nothing but, grit and pace, as these guys are wicked fast.
They definitely are. And as the 1 goes to that outside lane, the 12 comes with him. The 29 jumps up there as well. So Chris Melton gets left down on that low line all by himself.
And it seems like that's happened a good 4 or 5 times tonight. Chris Melton has found himself in a line by himself, as, whoa, he is going to wash up, kind of push
and you said
PJ O'Leary.
And you said Matt Mettler. And he is. Oh, the 12 gets spun around. 78 around. Matt Mettler just put down the fastest lap of the race with a 46.10.
Ooh. But yeah, unfortunate for the 12 there of Matt Burgess, as The 78. Oh, the 78 of Chris Melton. Just unfortunately too much momentum hitting his left rear. He didn't get square. If you're going to push through the tri-oval, you've got to get completely square with the car in front of you. And unfortunately, he just emphasized that left side rather than the center of the car, and he just never lifted. And
nope.
It resulted in the 12 of Matt Burgess going around and around, almost hitting the official iRacing pace car.
And that just ruined Jacob Gladulist's race. Because Gladulist looks like he was involved in that wreck, so he will not get that lucky dog, I don't believe.
Yeah, and you know, unfortunately, now we're at a spot where do you pit because I believe it's going to come down to a green-white checker. In that case, do you pit for tire to get just that little bit of better acceleration as you go green?
Well, right now there's 7 cars on the lead lap. I would pit, especially if I was close on fuel.
I agree. A splash of fuel, new tires, and whoa!
What in the world was that?
12 of Matt Burgess just turned the 22 of Dustin Musil, and unfortunately it spelled chaos for Matt Medler as well. What is going on there?
Ooh. I don't know. Let's take a look. Let's see.
So, Matt Burgess, he's just coming around full speed. We're under pacing and he's just full speed. I think that was an instance of zoning out at Daytona, because I don't think you can tell by the way he locked up. Nothing about that was intentional. I think he just got lost in the field and didn't know he was coming up on the grid there.
Yeah, I think everybody was down to his inside, and he was trying to get around everybody to get back to where he was supposed to be. It looked like. But yeah, he just did not slow down at all. So we are under the green-white checker finish here. And with that, we got James Pandolf, Austin Collins, PJ O'Leary, Richard Springer, all on the lead lap. And we'll see if Larry McKenzie Jr. goes down pit lane or not. Let's kind of jump back to see. Doesn't look like he's going to, which might be a smart move for him. He has enough fuel to make it to the end of the race. He last pitted on lap 53 though. So it's going to be close for him, I do believe.
Yeah, but unfortunately for him, he is not going to have those fresh tires. So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it might not hurt him, but his acceleration off the line is going to be hurt extremely bad by having these old tires. But it looks like he is going to dart off into the pit lane.
And it looks like pit lane's closed, so he'll just have to start at the end of the longest line, I do believe. So really, that's not going to hurt anything.
No, and you know, in a limited grid like this, yeah, you know, if you get an EOL, that's fine. You know, do what you got to do to get the EOL. Who cares? Because you know you're right there anyway. Pace car is going to be off after this one, I believe. The lights are off on that official iRacing pace car.
They're stacked up. Just gonna see if Larry McKenzie So here we go. Pace car will be diving in. Handoff looks like he will have the button here. Right now, just looking back through the field. But Chris Melton got caught back up. Matt Metler did as well.
You know, Matt Metler, who has been all over the purple laps all night tonight, has set 5 different fastest laps of the race. We'll see if he can bring that pace now under the green-white checkered, as pace car is off. And here we go. 2 laps. Daytona. Extremely bad start for Austin Collins, as James Pandolf is going to get away. Fortunately for Austin Collins, though, it's not really going to matter. Everyone's going to catch you back up.
Yeah, definitely was not the start he was looking for. He looked like he was trying to get somebody to help him there, and Chris Melton's just a little too far back. James Pandolf is playing back and forth, trying to find out where he wants to be, as Austin Collins is leading on that outside lane now.
Chris Melton, someone who we have saw tonight get, you know, rejected and ignored when he has tried to start his own line. He might be the reason Austin Collins gets pushed to a win here. Coming all 4, coming to the white. The 29 of PJ O'Leary is strapped to the back of James Pandolf. James Pandolf gets the lead. We are official. This is the final lap of the Dynasty Racing League Pro Series season opener at Daytona. Who is going to take it?
I know these laps are going to get crazy here momentarily. Matt Metler, huge run down on that inside, but nowhere really to take it at the moment. He's all over the back of Musil. You got Austin Collins, James Pandolf, and don't count out Richard Springer sitting 3rd in that high line.
Yeah,
everybody's trying to find a way to go.
These guys are gunning for a position, just any spot that they can overtake. 29 of PJ O'Leary's going to duck off to the inside. He's going to get pushed, but the 22 of Chris Musil gets turned.
And that is the race. Austin Collins is going to win. Oh my.
Wow. What a finish. What a finish.
So here's from the chopper cam. The 22 goes down below that yellow line. Thinks better of it. Tries to go back up as the same as the 21. So the 21 sends the 78. The 00 sends the 22. The 78 into Pandolf. And then you got PJ O'Leary. But PJ O'Leary winds up 2nd. James Pandolf cruises through barely in 3rd. And Larry McKenzie from lap down to P4.
Yeah, what a finish for Larry McKenzie. That is the best situation possible for you, you know, being a lap down for, you know, almost a majority of the race. Well done to Austin Collins.
Let's see if we can see which way do we want to go. Do we want to go 3, 2, 1?
I've always been a big countdown guy myself.
Yeah, let's see if we can get James Pandolf in here. Hey Mac, you're with James. How's it going?
James,
good. That was a heck of a finish.
I've got to say, James, you were in excellent position to kind of see everything that was going down there. Can you walk me through what exactly you were thinking coming off of 4 on that last lap?
Well, I didn't take any tires, so I was still on those pretty slick older tires compared to Austin, PJ, and the 78. and I was just sliding around. So off the corner, I ended up hitting a bump, just slid me right up, and the 29 with his momentum just had to take the inside. I told him, take me on the inside because I knew I wasn't going to have any momentum as Austin was to my outside, and that kind of screwed my ability to get the win. But it was a heck of an effort. Thank you to PJ for pushing me there at the end, and I'm glad he was able to get second out of it.
Yeah, a wicked pace from everybody all over the grid all night. Did you go in with a certain strategy to this race tonight, or did you just kind of wing it?
More or less winging it. I had Matt Metler as a teammate tonight. My normal teammate's doing the Saturday night Gen 4 series, so tomorrow night it'll be more strategically played. But Matt did a great job tonight. We had a good plan set up for the final 5 laps until that caution came out.
Yeah, that's the thing about Daytona is you never really know what you're going to get when it comes to cautions. But anyway, P3 for the night. James Pandolf, the floor is yours, man. Who would you like to thank for tonight?
I'd just like to thank everybody who comes here each and every week and participates. Without the drivers, there would be no Dynasty Racing League. Thank you to you guys, SRM, for broadcasting this. Glad to have you on board for now the second season. It's fantastic watching you broadcast over at the end of each and every race.
Well, we appreciate that, James, and go celebrate your P3 podium tonight, man. Take it easy.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and thank you for broadcasting. I'm looking forward to watching it at the end of tonight.
Sir.
Let me get PJ up here. Hey, PJ, Mike up in the booth. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good.
Heck of a run there at the end. You and Austin were kind of stuck between a couple lap cars, his teammate in front of him. What were your strategy kind of working towards the end of that race there?
Well, before the caution came out, I was hoping to save enough fuel where I can and try to get the run off the outside going off turn 4 and try to pass Austin and make it like a fun photo finish for everybody. That's always happens to come at these super speedway tracks, whether it be Daytona or Talladega. But and then of course when the caution came out, it kind of changed everything. But it was fun. I don't know what else to stay on top of that, but it was fun. The number 29 Reese's Chevrolet was really quick tonight, even with the damage we got in that early wreck. I thought I was going to be at least a little off the pace because I know how hard it can be to keep up in the draft with some of these cars, whether it be the Gen 4, the truck, the next gen, whatever. Sometimes we get too much damage, it's hard to keep up in the draft with the aero damage you have. So I was a little worried about how bad my damage was, but even if it was like a minute 43, I think it was 43, 44. But it was still good enough to keep up in the draft and bring home top 2 finish. I wanted to win. I want to get a win for Kevin Harvick because it's his last season and I'm running his cars. But it's okay. I want a Wednesday night race here. I want a truck race here on Wednesday night and got a second today. So hopefully we'll have a good run tomorrow night and make it a really good week for here at Daytona.
Well, definitely. So from Daytona, we head to Rockingham. What are your thoughts heading into that?
I was really good there last season in the Gen 4. So I think I have a good chance. I don't know if I'm going to win or not because it's hard to try to figure out these cars. I've been good when trying to figure out the setup for these cars. That's why I race with guys like Austin Collins and Matt Burgess and Thomas Harmon, who's not here tonight, but he's another teammate that I run with a lot. And basically get tips from them on how to get around some of these tracks and like make changes to the setup if I need be. And sometimes it improves, sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time it does improve though. So hopefully over the next week, kind of have a little bit of issue with them right now. I think I made him mad on Wednesday or something, but hopefully we'll get our problems figured out next week and we'll all be one big full unit going into Rockingham.
Definitely. Well, anybody you want to thank for your second place finish tonight before I let you go?
Of course, you guys for always broadcasting these races for the league. JP for keeping Dynasty running strong. It's been a little while since I've been back in this league. Last time I was in here was 2019, so I'm glad it's still around to this day. Celebrating 10 years too, which I did not know. That's pretty cool. Congratulations to Austin. Great guy, hell of a driver. For winning, he's really good at these speedway tracks like I am. Reese's, Goodwrench, Shell Pennzoil, probably my teammates, although I'm not sure if I have any. Again, the teammate situation is a little goofy right now, so let's see if I have teammates. I think I do. I'm trying to think about the sponsors on my car. Snap-on, Chevrolet. I'm trying to be like a real life NASCAR driver here. But that's about it. My personal sponsors I always carry with me. They're not on the car this week, but I always carry them with me from race to race. The Gabby Petito and Christina Grimmy Foundations. Two young ladies we've lost over the past few years, and I'm wearing their logos on my cars as like honoring them and hoping to get them a win, hoping to run well for them. And again, I went on Wednesday night in another league I run in. Second place on tonight, so we'll see what we got for them tomorrow.
Definitely. All right, I'll let you go, PJ. I'll talk to you maybe tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Yep. All right, let's move over. If we can get winner Austin Collins.
Austin Collins, you're a winner of the Daytona race tonight. How are you feeling, man?
Feeling pretty good. It's always nice to go back-to-back at opening Daytona races here at DRO.
Yeah, you know, you had amazing pace all night, just absolutely blistering through the corners, down the back straight, everything. And you linked up with the number 12 of Matt Burgess, you know, quite a bit. Did you guys have a strategy going down there that he was going to kind of play defense for you?
Kind of not. I know, like I said, he's my teammate, so we worked well together a lot. But on our pit entrance, I don't know if y'all caught that. We messed that all up.
Oh,
so
we caught it.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a good show there. So I somehow got real lucky there. I didn't catch nothing like he did. But just like I said, to even stay with the pack there after that, like I said, he got caught, so he was a lap down. I think it was two. He would have been two technically, but yeah, it was going to be real close on fuel there at the end. So he jumped out for me and let me save a bit there for a while. And once I got out front, I knew I was going to be good. I was just going to try to hold the top and make people go either all the way around me or have them stuck behind Matt there. But we didn't get to have that play out, so we had to do it the hard way there and get that last lap, the green, white, checkered, and make it stick on the outside around JP there, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was obviously, a great strategy from you guys. The one hiccup with the pit entrance, kind of slowed things down, but, it turned out to work in the end. But you head to the Rock next week, Rockingham Speedway. What are your thoughts ahead of that race?
I won there last year, or the last season that we ran there in the ARCA car, so we switched to the Gen 4, so hopefully this time it doesn't have to be a last lap pass like it was then. But Rockingham's usually a pretty fun track, so I'll be looking forward to it.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. You showed an extreme amount of pace here tonight, but, you are the winner. The floor is yours. Who do you have to thank for tonight's performance?
First and foremost, I got to thank JP for putting on the league. Without that, we wouldn't have nowhere to race here tonight. So I know he's got us doing Fridays and Saturdays now, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I thank my teammate Matt, who raced with me tonight. I thank you all for doing the broadcast. It's awesome that y'all are doing this for us. I know Matt and Liam, I think they're supposed to be back with us tomorrow, so it'll be awesome. Also got to thank Team Watson Racing. I recently joined them. you ever need setups, you can go check them out. And that's about it.
Yes, sir. Well, Austin, enjoy your night tonight. You are the winner. Take it easy, man.
Yep. Take care, guys.
So that will do it here from Daytona. Let's run down the race results real quick. Austin Collins is able to get the victory. PJ O'Leary held on for second. James Pandolf back in third. Larry McKenzie up for fourth. Chris Melton fifth. Matt Metler, fastest car on track, was not able to break inside the top 5 at the finish, but finishes sixth. Richard Springer led the most laps, finished seventh. Dustin Musial in eighth. Jacob Gladulish in ninth, and Matt Burgess finishes 10th. Small field tonight, but they will be back at it tomorrow in the Gen 4 cars from Daytona. Before we take off, anything you'd like to say, Mac?
Nothing really crazy, but I just want to say these guys showed an excellent amount of, resilience and grit. There were a lot of things that went wrong for a lot of these drivers tonight, but, they just put their head down. They just kept their head down and pushed, and, it resulted in, good things for the front half, and, sometimes it doesn't pan out for the, the people in the back half of the grid, but, what's important is that you keep going. You never back down, and you never give up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a couple cars. Well, Larry McKenzie was a lap down, and he winds up coming home fourth. So, never give up, especially at these super speedways. Next week we head to the Rock. We'll see a little bit of different type of racing there. But from everybody at Dynasty Racing League and all of us here at Sim Racing Media, this has been Mike Demoni and Mac Nelson here. We will see you tomorrow night in the Gen 4 cars. Good night, everybody.